Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the L.A.M.E Book Club podcast. My name is Melissa.
I'm Ellie.
And we are so excited.
Oh.
We're so back. Also excited. And apparently not on the same page, but that's okay. For Onyx Storm, this book just came out last Tuesday. Ellie and I were like, immediately we need to start diving into this. There's so much here. We want to take it slow, but not too slow. Exactly.
Like everyone's excited, so why not just do it? Like why go against the grain? We serve the people. So
take a crazy chance.
Love it.
What's that from? Why can't I?
Every teen movie ever.
Was it Lizzie McGuire
Probably
though?
Princess Diaries, Lizzie McGuire. Yeah.
I don't.
What's the one with Lindsay Lohan?
Not Freaky Friday. It's not from that one.
That's when I was thinking Anyways.
We're back. We're so back, like Ellie said. We are excited for Onyx Storm. Have a couple quick housekeeping things before we jump in. But, guys, like, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, on all the socials, YouTube, subscribe there. Everything is at L.A.M.E Book Club Pod. Thank you so much for those who have. If you have an iOS Apple device, please leave us a review in Apple Podcasts. It's the only place where you can leave like a written review. And I have one from Tog Lover. Throne of Glass, I believe, is the Tog in reference here. Love it. It's amazing. 5 stars. I don't typically listen to podcasts, but this one is so fun to listen to. I'm currently reading Throne of Glass and look forward to listening to the two of you discussing each book. It's funny and I love hearing different perspectives of the story. Thank you, Tog Lover. Aren't we all Tog lovers?
What we go for.
I love it.
All? We are. If you are having fun over here, consider joining our Patreon. We're having a blast over there. We are going through Caraval. We're on the second book, Legendary. At the end of each book, we do a live book club. What do you call it? Just a live book club.
A live book club.
That's it. That's the one.
That's what we call it, actually.
There's bonus content. There's early releases. It's a lot of fun. So head over there if you want more of a little of this. Yikes. And we have merch. So if you're interested in any L.A.M.E Book Club Pod merch, on our website, we have a tote and we have stickers. And they are, if I dare say so myself, so cute.
Ellie did design them, so she dare say so.
I dare say so.
So head over to lamebookclubpod.com. You can also catch up on episodes there. It's connected to everything, streaming, whatever. It's good.
Yeah, we're super techie over there. It's great.
We are so technical. It's insane.
Yes.
All right. Well, before actually, really quick, this is not what we have listed to say, but I want to. If you are a longtime listener or even have listened to one episode prior to this one, you will notice that my background changed, and I'm very excited about this, everyone. I have an official podcast setup in my room.
You should be able to hear that through the podcast. Her background has changed.
Yes. Oh, so sorry. If you're only listening, you can't see. And womp womp, head over to YouTube. But I have this fun little shelf. I am so sad. I've obviously been reading Onyx Storm on my Kindle, but my physical copy still has not come as of this recording. But it's all right because I have my Fourth Wing and Iron Flame copies up here. Onyx Storm, there's a little space for it right there. It will join us as soon as it comes in the mail.
If only we were in the same state, and then I could just add this guy right up there, and we'd have a perfect collection together. Well, yeah.
But anyways, I'm super excited to jump in. Before we do so, there is just a spoiler warning. I mean, if you're reading Onyx Storm, I would assume you have read Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, but just to be safe, there will be spoilers for those books as well as the chapters that we are reading. We will not do any spoilers beyond the chapters in this episode, and today it's going to be chapters 1 through 6. So if you've only read the first 6 chapters, you are safe. If you've read more, you're also safe. But for the sake of not wanting to spoil anything and also keeping things cohesive with what we're talking about, we will not be going on beyond chapter 6 today as far as Onyx Storm.
Yes. So once again, to reiterate, spoilers for everything except for beyond chapter 6 and Onyx Storm. Okay. Are we ready to start?
Oh, I am so ready. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. I do want to also say that this is a deep dive. This is not, we're reading the summary and then we give a couple thoughts. We're involving our theories, any lore we can find, any thoughts on the characters, what's about to happen. It's all here. So this is the prologue. The night following the battle at Viscayath, Xaden is trudging through the underground tunnels of the Quadrant, heading to the interrogation cell that Jack is in as Violet secretly follows. Violet has this newfound confidence in her, and I love it. Reading this, I was like, this is a different Violet than what we've been getting.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the last fourth of Iron Flame Violet. That is obviously, I mean, the story picks up right where we left off, but just I feel like she really started to come into herself towards the very end of that book. And especially though, I mean, with how that ended, good Lord, her mom dying and everything, like that's such a, I don't even say bittersweet. It's sweet, I guess, that the wards got were put up again, but it was just a sad ending. So to see her starting off strong, I guess, like in that, like confident, like you said, and just doing what she needs to do, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a little bit more sad girl Violet.
Well, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but honestly, even just reading that, she already had a couple sentences in this book about like, that's for later, I'll mourn later. And I'm like, my girl is about to crash at some point because that never goes over well.
Never,
that is
ever works.
That is some pent up mourning that's happening. But when she like addressed the guards going down into the prison, she was like, do you know who I am? Basically, do you know who I am? Do you know what I've been through? I would do this for you. Move. And I was like, that's my girl. That's we needed. Okay.
That is so fair.
I know. So Indarna and Violet talk about Xaden on the way, and Indarna speaks about Xaden being Venin. Violet says something interesting. She says, if he'd completely lost himself, he would have drained me at any number of points tonight. Surely we can repair wherever his soul may have cracked. So, obviously, becoming Venin isn't an all or nothing situation like one of us, at least one of us, may have presumed from Iron Flame. It's a slow process.
Yeah,
I think that's what we're getting here.
We know next to nothing about the Venin. I mean, we know that they're bad. We know that they, they channel power from the earth. We know that you don't have to be, we learn that later on in this book. So just kidding. I'm not going to say that. But like up until this point, we really know very little. We know a tiny, tiny bit about their hierarchy. So I truly did not think twice about the process. I've wondered about Jack, and like, I remember there was right after that threshing, there was one point where it was they made a point to say that his eyes, the red rimmed eyes.
Yeah, during the challenge. Yeah,
during the challenge. But then after that, it was never really brought up again. And so obviously, Rebecca is the queen of misdirection, and so that was like very much on purpose. But I've wondered like, when exactly did it happen? I think at one point in Iron Flame, he says he decided to after he was like pissed that Violet bonded to the biggest dragon. He didn't. Something along those lines. But we just don't know. Like, no one ever suspected him. No one ever knew what was going on. And there's just so much unknown. And so the fact that this quote said like he's just cracked, like his soul, there's not hopeless, like there is hope for him. I agree. I was like, okay, cool, like maybe because he seems to be normal-ish.
Kind of normal. Yeah.
I mean, like we don't know much yet. This is the prologue. Obviously,
bottom
we're
line
get
here, there was hope, because I definitely thought like, goodbye Xaden, we will not see him this entire book, but there's hope.
At the same time though, Andarna not as much, but Taryn, and I mean, as we'll see throughout these chapters, like he is not optimistic about Xaden, and he keeps referring to him as the Dark One. So, yes, there is hope, but at the same time, I did have the thought that maybe Violet was just being like a little delusional and like wishful thinking, because she needs there to be hope. She just lost her mom. She doesn't want to lose. She's like, I won't lose him too. Like, I'm not saying that it can't happen because we don't really know, but there is an element of wishful thinking in there.
Well, if Violet is delusional, then aren't we all? Because I think we're all hoping for the same thing. So
I know that I am.
And Darna confirms that she scorched the Venin during their conversation and that killed it. Boom. So that's confirming what we were all suspecting in the prologue. She says it likely had to do with the magic that occurs when she changes colors. And that was new to me. That's news to me.
Well, it's all news to me, but agreed. I was curious how that was going to, like you said, obviously I knew we were going to get answers. Did not expect to get so much information in the prologue.
I know.
And so I was like, good Lord. This book is 750
pages. This is an information
pages.
dump in the first 10 pages. I'm over my entire book. The prologue is like highlighted, highlighted. I was like, we can't forget any of this. Okay.
No,
Violet approaches the interrogation cell where she hears Jack Barlow and Xaden talking. So I felt like I didn't feel like, I know, we read Xaden and Jack's interaction in Iron Flame. So it was cool that it's like, oh, Violet was there.
Exactly.
That was so cool.
Yeah, because we didn't know,
Rebecca.
But now getting that exact same conversation from her point of view, agreed. That was really, honestly,
so cool.
I was like, wait, didn't I read this already? And it took me a second to be like, oh, this is from Violet's point of view. Because I'm like, we know this happened already. I'm super confused.
Yes, me too. Okay, Jack taunts Xaden, saying he'll lose control and end up killing Violet. He says that there's a reason the higher-ups want her. As Xaden denies his loss of control, Jack says, quote, even you don't get a say in which parts of us are taken first. Those weak-ass initiate rings in your eyes won't just last a few days. They'll be permanent. Okay, so initiate. So not permanent yet. My eyes are open.
Again, back to what I was saying earlier about how no one knew about Jack. Okay, so there is they turn red.
It takes time
initially, and then not for a little bit. I'm assuming it's like the more you channel,
you have to keep channeling from the earth in order for you to become more of like a permanent venom. So it's a choice, and Xaden obviously doesn't want that. So it's very, very interesting. And I'm sitting here like, can he cure himself then if he just chooses not to channel? Is it that easy?
Cannot.
Are we
no,
done?
I was just about to say,
prologue and done.
It cannot be that simple. I'm assuming again, and we do get more of this like in the beginning, but that it's less about. Yes, there's a choice, but I also feel like once you do it, it's almost like withdrawal. Like you're gonna crave it,
right?
So
it's all you're thinking about.
Quote unquote a choice, but like you're gonna feel like your body physically needs it or you're gonna die.
Did I ever tell you about the time that I went through a genuine coffee withdrawal? Like I was actually addicted. First of all, this was a mistake. I gained 30 pounds because I had a vanilla latte every single day for maybe a year.
When was this?
It was like,
was it college?
No, it was like 2018, I think. One day I was like, I probably shouldn't drink this much caffeine. I was having heart palpitations. I'm sweating. It was a rough time. And so I was like, I'm going to just cold turkey cut it off. And I assume this is the same for Xaden. All I could think about was coffee. All I could think about. Anytime I felt down, anytime I needed just like a snack, anytime I was bored, all I wanted was coffee. And I'm just like, I'm shaking. I'm having headaches. It was a genuine withdrawal.
So
it was crazy.
You heard it here first, you guys. Ellie's coffee addiction, tomato
Xaden's
with
channel.
Xaden's venom. Venonism.
That's crazy. Okay,
Incredible.
And then also from this conversation, it's clear that the Venom are desperate for Violet.
Yes.
And I know we had talked about maybe Violet was having like Dreamwalker. She had a Dreamwalker signet to where she was seeing Xaden's dreams and that the Venom really wanted him. But so now it's clear, maybe they wanted him, but they want her too. Like that's their end game.
Yeah,
so.
I and I know we will get into this. I don't think it happens in the first 6 chapters, but I'm not gonna lie, I was a little confused at this part because I had resigned myself to the fact that they were talking I first thought they were talking to Violet because I was like, oh yeah, she's having through the bond or something, she's in his dreams. But then I was like, the end conversation that happened with the general where he was like, or that one dream where he said you'll change for love. And then Xaden did. I was like, oh, okay, no, they really were talking to Xaden. Violet was just like somehow seeing all of this.
Yeah.
And then these conversations are happening and I'm like, okay, yeah, they want Violet, but I'm like, but also the way Jack was talking was like, no, they want you too.
They wanted you. Yes.
It was, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little confused at this point.
But possibly adding this to my bingo card, would they both change for love? Would Violet change for some reason for Xaden, for any reason? Something to think about.
That is the $1,000,000 question. Because on one hand, I would say absolutely not. She knows better, but at the same time, she is not being logical with
knew
Xaden.
better. Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh.
So,
yeah. Let's see. Violet resolves to find the cure. Yeah, girl. Finally. I love that this is prologue. We're going to find the cure. Knew it. And Andarna swears that they'll do it together, adding in, if I'm right and I somehow altered that venin inadvertently while changing my scales, then the rest of my kind should know how to master the tactic, how to change him, cure him. Okay, so Adventure to the Isles it is.
Which, to be fair, we did already know because Rebecca released like a portion of a chapter online and it says we're going to the Isles. So not necessarily a super big surprise, but yes, agreed. 100% confirmed.
And Darna advises that Violet will have to keep secrets again, to which Violet counters, only the ones that protect Xaden. And miscommunication enters the chat.
I know. I'm like,
all right.
Oh, man. That was like the backbone of Iron Flame, and I was ready for it to be done.
I know. So again, we're just in the prologue, and I feel like half my bingo card is marked off. So really starting off strong. Chapter 1. 2 weeks later, there are peace talks happening between Navarre and Peromiel, but it's not looking good. Violet and Taryn are patrolling for dark wielders and nasty weather. Violet is reminded that the weather has been so bad because no one has been there to control it. Gut punch. When I read that, I was like, okay.
Honestly, it took me a second. When like the weather's been, she's like, it's been like the coldest it's ever been. I was like, wow, what crap luck. And yeah, because there's no one to control it. I'm like, oh, who would have done? Oh my gosh. It like took me way longer than I think it should have to connect. And I was like, which honestly made it worse because I was like, oh, I should have known.
Yeah. And I think it's explained in the book, but if that's over anybody's head right now, her mother, Lilith, was a weather controlling signet wielder.
That was her signet,
I don't know what you say.
Controlling the weather. I don't remember. I don't know if there was an official title for it, but I
just
remember
said
thinking,
it. How could you not think that? Weather controlling signet wielder.
You know, I actually think I remember that being on the opening page of Onyx Storm, just like in remembrance, Lilith Storm.
In remembrance of.
Lilith Storm Gale, Signet, whatever, weather wieldery controller person, whatever you just said.
That's what I said, yeah. Okay,
Incredible.
So then she tells herself she'll mourn her mother later, which again, a recipe for disaster if you ask me. Just this constant, every chapter pushing it off. I'm like, one of these chapters is just going to be dedicated to you blowing up because that is going to be rough.
And I can't tell if I'm here for it or on pins and needles and waiting for it.
I just think I'm going to get destroyed. I think Rebecca's going to wreck me when she finally has time to mourn her mother. And so, no doubt about it, I'm ready to get hurt again. We learn that 31 venin have been killed on these patrols, and Xaden has been responsible for 17 of them. That shocked me to my bones.
It didn't. Not me.
Really?
Yeah, well, because
I don't know why in my head I was like, he's not going to kill his... No, that's dumb.
Kind.
His kind, yeah, but that's dumb. So maybe I just didn't think about it. I needed to say it out loud.
Yeah, no, it didn't shock me at all. One, because I think people would expect nothing less from him, but two, I feel like he really is trying to prove he's not trying, no one else knows. He's not necessarily trying to prove to everyone, but he's trying to prove to himself and Violet that he can control this, that it's not going to affect him. She doesn't need to be scared of him. Well, even though he says she does, but like, I think deep down, he doesn't want anything to change. And so it's more of a like, I'm going to prove that I can do this kind of thing, which is so Xaden. Like, to a T. I would expect nothing
Test
less.
Of control. Honestly, Terrence says Violet is denying the truth and acknowledges that she's pretending to sleep at night. He admits he doesn't trust Xaden anymore, but will help Violet and her and Andarna's quest to find the cure. Okay, no, that's fine. I actually highlighted a little piece that my heart melted because he wasn't necessarily direct about, I'll help you, but he said, I fly without warming my wings in preparation for carrying heavier weight for longer distances. Does that not answer your question? Because he's prepping to carry Andarna, so he's not warming up his wings.
Oh my gosh, so I saw, and I've always kind of thought of it like this, but I will never mentally picture it any other way moving forward. I saw a TikTok of a guy, and it was at first you don't see anyone, and it just said like my Tarn cosplay or something like that, fourth wing cosplay. And it has some audio clip from the graphic audiobook of one of them. And I think it's some part of Iron Flame. And then he steps out when it is fourth wing when he says who did you bond to, and it says Tarnanok or whatever. Anyways, then he steps out, and I swear he's wearing like a Toothless from How to Train Your Dragon like onesie. He has this like yellow dragon squishmallow attached to his front in like a baby carrier, and
that's so cute.
It was so cute, but like it was just the comedic timing of it. Really, I choked. I think I was like drinking water, and I was like almost spit it out.
We'll need to find that and then repost it because the people have to see.
The people need to see. It was so funny. Anyways, that's exactly like how I picture it, like a full-on Ergo baby carrier with Andarna in it.
I do too. I do too. So Violet is strapped in her like car seat to the back, and Andarna is in her carrier in the front. He's a full-on dad, is what's happening.
He is a dad, Daddy Tarn. Ew. But yes.
But also,
yes, she has her. Violet has her Graco car seat and the Ergo baby carrier in the front for Andarna. He has twins.
He's a girl dad. He is.
He is a girl dad.
Atrum, Ridoc's dragon, nearly crashes into Tarn and Violet on accident during their patrol, and Tarn throws an absolute fit. It puts him in a mood when they land, and he brings up Xaden, who he is now calling the Dark One. We get clued in that the whole gang, Ridoc, Rhee, Quinn at least, are in on helping Violet find Andarna's kind. However, there's tension as their dragons don't want to start the search in Navarre since it's very clear that they're unwelcomed. They want to go home to Orisha. Makes sense to me.
You know what's funny? I did not see that coming. And looking back, I'm like, oh, you silly, silly fool, Melissa. Like, obviously, the people who stayed are going to feel some kind of way. Like, they didn't get, their dragons didn't show them the truth. In their minds, they are deserters. They left. And sure, they came back to help. But, like, their whole thing is this wouldn't have happened in the first place if you had been here. And honestly, I understand that thought process and that point of view. I mean, I would hope that I would have bonded to a dragon that would have shown me the truth and I would have been with the Oration group. But regardless, I get why they're upset. Now,
I know.
I don't agree with the level of it and like how they're taking it out on people. And I also think that at this point, it's going to take more than one battle to unlearn all of the hatred and propaganda that they've been taught about flyers. But
yes.
I also it was hard to read because we have gotten to know and love the flyers.
That's exactly it. I'm honestly, until you said this, I was like, I don't get it. There's war. Like, there's bigger things to deal with than the divisiveness in your own school and amongst the flyers. Figure it out. This is war. Yeah. But now that you say that, I'm like, they weren't privy to these relationships or the growth that happened in the entire last book. So it makes sense that they're like, I don't like
and their whole life, their entire life, they've been taught that these people are the enemy. And so 12 hours of fighting isn't, okay, cool, yeah, you were on our side, but it's only because we have now a common big bad. It's not because you're not still bad.
Just turn into a can we fix him episode?
Oh my gosh.
I think we kind of get that side of it.
I'm gonna make a prediction that eventually, yes, they're all gonna come around. But
I think so. I mean, they have to. I mean, I don't know. They don't have to.
They
but
don't
they
have to.
You know, in my head, they have to. Xaden insists that they stay in Navarre. Tarn says he remains because Navarre's word protect you from him. Oh baby, he is trapped. He has to stay in Navarre. That was not something I thought of. I was like, no, he can leave. Why hasn't he left? It makes so much sense. The wards keep him from channeling more magic, and he's not able to necessarily channel to hurt Violet. So makes sense.
The wards don't keep him from channeling, but within the wards, the Venon's power is significantly dampened. Not the right way to explain it.
I'm actually glad you're bringing this up because my very next sentence was actually, let's get some clarity on the wards because I'm a little bit unclear. So please.
Well, so obviously there's a lot more that we have to learn about the words, but I think we got a decent amount of understanding in the Iron Flame, at least part 2 of Iron Flame.
I don't know. You got a decent amount. I walked away being like, "What?" One
What
of
are
our
these?
followers reached out and they were like, "How does the How do the wards work when the venom enter?" And I was like, "I'm gonna be honest. This is a question for Melissa and not for me because I don't know."
Well, I mean, we learn more. Really, Jack Barlow is our only source of information right now, which makes me want to throw up, knowing that he is the only one who knows anything about this. But we still don't know like tons. We know that the wyvern cannot. They die immediately as soon as they cut through the wards. Excuse me. That doesn't happen with the venom, but I think it's something really honestly the easiest way to equate it is kind of like how the flyers are their lesser magic is suppressed. That's what I was looking for.
Suppressed.
The lesser magic is suppressed when they're within the wards. It's the equivalent of venom. It's not that they can't channel. It's just that their power is not. They don't have as much of it after channeling. So that's the whole thing. Is Xaden wants to stay within the wards because once he's out of the wards, his venom is gonna he's
free
gonna be,
reign.
the control that the little control that he has right now is gonna be out the window because it's like just gonna be so
Everything's
overwhelming.
gonna be it's a dessert buffet for him out there.
It
That's
sure
crazy.
is. Yeah, it's
Wow.
more of a it's more of a power. He's not gonna have nearly as much control over when he channels and then the power that releases from it and then obviously then his eyes would start to turn red again and stuff. So
Okay.
yeah, it's more of a he's scared of himself beyond the words.
Okay. I get it now. Do you guys get it? Okay, great. The crew makes it back to the courtyard, and it is clear that there is hot tension between those who chose to stay at Navarre and those who went to Orisha. At this rate, there is literally no hope for the Flyers if it's already this bad for the Riders. Imogen is watching Xaden. She, Garrick, and Bodhi are saying that Violet needs to not sleep in the same bed with Xaden, but Violet is hearing none of that noise. Which
none of it. No, neither are we.
I don't know.
Honestly, Imogen, go away.
I'm hearing a little bit of that noise. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Like some static.
But I play it safe. Yeah, I'm one who plays it safe. So maybe I'd be like, you can sleep in a twin bed next to mine. I don't know.
I wouldn't.
Just a little bit of distance.
As we have already mentioned, I am delusional, and I am like full send with with Violet, like with the knowing that he won't hurt me, like he wouldn't hurt her. And
no, yeah,
I get
don't
it.
think
like
he
I get it.
in
He
his
could lose
purest form would hurt her, but I think Ven and Xaden might lose a little control.
That's what I was gonna say. I get it. He could lose control. I just think he's shown enough restraint at this point. I would not. I think I'd be nervous the same way Violet is, and like she's not sleeping well, but she doesn't want to change anything. I think like same thing. I feel like it would hurt me more to have that conversation of I don't trust what you're gonna do, and I need to sleep in a separate room than the fear of him doing anything to hurt me.
No, because you know what this actually reminds me of? This is it just all clicked. Like this the desperation for needing more power but being like I'm going to control it gives vampires needing to feed. And so like you have the Colons who are like who
fresh
are like
vampires.
I am good. I don't need to feed on humans, but that temptation is always there. And should you slip up in such a way, they could kill you. And that's why I would do 2 twin beds. In my
for that
opinion.
reason alone, I'm doubling down on the same room, 2 bed situation.
Exactly.
The opposite of the favored trope.
But the important thing here is that Violet is not. Violet visits Sawyer in the healer's wing. She walks into his room that is crowded with their friends, including but not limited to Marin and Kat. So, okay, I love this.
It's because it's their whole squad, and they're part of the squad.
So Sawyer's leg is gone, and he was visited by the commander of the retiring riders. But his friends are like, I know, yeah. His friends are like, no, you can't retire. Impossible. When all of a sudden, they hear screams of terror. Once again, we are in chapter 2. Everything is, or chapter 1, and everything is popping off. And I am so here for how much plot is happening in just the prologue in chapter 1.
Before we move on to what is about to happen and arguably about to shake things up, Can we just for 1 second, could you imagine? I mean, this is tragic.
Yeah.
What happened to Sawyer is tragic. But could you imagine how embarrassing it would be to be visited
I could
by...
not recover.
No. Be revisited by the commander of retired riders before you even graduate Bezgayev? My guy is in his second year. He hasn't even... Well, technically third, but second because he didn't bond the first time. Regardless, even if he had bonded his first year, he wouldn't have been a graduate yet.
Am I crazy for thinking, wouldn't he just be able to, I mean, it's not a just, but like, I have to imagine in this world, prosthetics are a thing.
Yeah.
They have magic runes. He could I mean, not easily. Once again, it's not it's not an easily, but he could learn to ride again. People overcome so much.
Violet has her car seat. She had to make adjustments.
Yes.
I think there could be... I'm not even for 1 second believing that he won't ride again. There's no way. And honestly, this brings up a point too that I was hoping to touch on eventually. But and this has been consistent throughout all of the 3 books here, Rebecca was very intentional when writing this book to make it really relatable, especially when it comes to the language that's used. It's very modern, even though the setting is not modern and it's obviously a fantasy setting. But she even said in an interview that she really wanted this series to be a gateway for people who have not read fantasy, so that it's not overwhelming with verbiage that no one understands and stuff. So that's why she made it super easy to understand and really common tongue and language. And so knowing all of that, and I get it that language doesn't have anything to do with what happens in the story, but I just think with all of the adjustments that Violet's been able to make for herself, with the way that things are fairly modern in how they're addressed and solutions that are given, there's no chance that this boy isn't getting a prosthetic at some point and also riding his dragon again. I refuse to believe it.
Yep. Violet overcame her physical ailments, and Darna, I know in my heart of hearts, is going to carry a rider. Sawyer
not
will
just
not
a rider.
Retire. A Violet.
She will carry Violet.
So after they hear these screams of terror, in comes an infantry cadet saying they're all dead. No venom were found on patrol because they were already inside.
Oh my God. I see. And again, this is where I was confused for a little bit, because we already got that little bit of a chapter. And now that I've now learned it's chapter 2. But from Rebecca, she just released a snippet. And we knew that the Venom were wearing scribe robes. So that's where I'm she's oh, they're already inside. I'm Violet, sweetie, we know this. You have the interaction with them in the interrogation cell. But then I have to check myself and I'm Melissa,
bonus chapters.
You know this. Violet doesn't know this. This is an early release bonus, or not bonus, but early release little snippet of the book. Yes. You don't know where in the book that happened. Violet doesn't, and I'm
does that raise anything for the audience of this podcast? Does that deter you to bonus chapters or early release snippets or what have you? Because for me, there were parts of this book where I'm I thought we knew that, but it's because I read that a month or 2 ago when Rebecca released the small blurb of it. And that messes me up just a slight bit.
It's absolutely a me problem. I want as much. I would give Sarah my left arm if she would give me a snippet of the next ACOTAR book. At this point, we don't. I'm not the same. Nothing.
So we're two vectors on this one. I don't want
Amen.
A preview. I don't want to see anything about it until I have the whole thing to devour, because then I'm just I want to read that. Well, I already knew I wanted to read it because I'm 2 books in. So for me, I want it all or nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. When you wait so long, as long as you do for books, I think I just get any little morsel that they are willing to give me.
Please, sir, may I have a bit?
Any crumb I am gonna eat, I will lick the plate. Because then for me, it just makes me more excited. No, I don't know, but
that's their intent.
I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. Okay. Chapter 2. Header foreshadowing. Let's get into this. The rarest of signets, those that rise once in a generation or century, have manifested concurrently with an equal twice in our records, both critical times in our history. This is where I highlighted. but only once have the 6 most powerful walked the continent simultaneously. As fascinating as that spectacle must have been, I would rather not live to see it happen again. I think that whoever this was is going to live to see it happen again, because I think that this is foreshadowing for maybe not this book, but at least in the series, that the 6 most powerful are going to walk again. And so, who's your prediction on the 6 most powerful?
Ooh, that is an excellent question. Obviously,
I think we know 2.
Violet and Xaden. Yes.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Okay, honestly, I think Imogen could be.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
My memory erasing, that is wicked. That could be super powerful. Okay, and also, you know what? I have a prediction on not necessarily which ones, but I think the other 4 are all going to be marked ones. So I don't, maybe not necessarily specific individuals, but I have this theory that all of the marked ones actually have double, like 2 signets, regardless of if they bonded to a dragon that was in their familial line. I think that, and the reason I think that is because if you remember, right before Liam died, Liam's signet was Farsight, right?
The ice.
Right
the
before
ice.
he died, he wielded ice.
Yes.
And we have gotten 0 explanation for that. And so obviously that is a use case, like it's a one person. We have 0 evidence that with anyone else. But I'm just like, what if when Coda like blew fire on them and gave them that mark, the rune, I mean, we already know the rune was like created to protect them from Markham.
Yeah.
What if there was also something else in there that gave them I don't know how, but I don't know. It's kind of like a loose theory, but I just really think that they're going to have 2. So with that being said, I think the other
Sloane.
4 are going to be marked ones. I don't know.
I think Sloane might be in there, especially if that's true. Oh yeah, maybe Bodhi.
So yeah, I just don't know. I'm like trying to think of like who are the main characters that we have so far that are already marked, and Imogen, Bodhi, Garrick, and Sloane are the first 4 that come to mind. So maybe.
Okay.
So I mean, we'll see. But I think that the other 4 are going to be marked ones, and I think that's even going to be like kind of the point. Like they are,
I like that.
They know the truth. They're fighting for justice, and they are going to be the most powerful. And hopefully, it will unite everyone back together. Whereas the last 6 kind of messed things up, and it ended up dividing everyone.
Interesting. All right, add it to our bingo cards. Okay, so Violet heads into battle and tries to reach out to Xaden. His shields are impenetrable, and she says, quote, frustrating, but fine. I'm perfectly capable of fighting on my own. I'm sorry. No, girl, no. If my husband does not answer his cell phone within the first ring, I am blindingly furious. I am shaking angry. It is in the case of an actual emergency, as Violet is in, and Xaden just blocked up his channel, what did we call that? His bond?
Their bond.
No.
Yeah.
No.
See, I see what you're saying, but she also made a comment too, because Taryn agrees with you. Taryn's like, absolutely not. But she even said, she's like, I've always been more powerful with my daggers than my signet, because she trained for that like so much longer with that. And I mean, the girl can hold her own in fighting. I'm not saying she doesn't
can
need
hold her
backup
own,
or that.
But she has literally one of the most powerful, what do we call them, riders in history at her disposal. He is in love with her, but he blocked his bond. I get why he did it. I'm just so frustrated. I just picture this. If this were
I'm frustrated for her.
It wouldn't. My first stop wouldn't be to the Venom. It would be to find him to yell. Okay.
Ain't that the truth?
The Venom are dressed as scribes, which is how they were able to infiltrate Basquiath. They're heading towards the interrogation cell, their motive to free Jack. One of the Dark Wielder females trying to set Jack free has a long silver braid. And again, this was in one of the early blurbs that Rebecca...
this was the part that I was talking about.
But let's talk about it.
Oh,
so,
man.
Is Violet living proof that there's a cure because of her silver hair? There's a silver hair coincidence here. Something's happening. Or that her mother was cured. This just opens that back up to questioning.
Yeah, honestly, because then immediately she disappears. Like, I know we're about to...
That line of thinking stops abruptly as the female smirks and then disappears.
There is no way, like no possibility in my mind that it was a coincidence that this Venom had the exact same hair color / style as hers with how much emphasis was put on the uniqueness of her hair in the beginning of Fourth Wing.
Right.
But there's, like you said, there's so many possibilities. I racked my mind when this first like little blurb came out of like, what could this possibly mean? And so I think I've done I posted a reel about it. I've thought all my thoughts on the possibility. And now that we have the information, I'm like, you know what, Melissa, just keep reading. So that's what I'm going to do now. Let's just keep going.
Love it.
Noted. Not a coincidence. She's going to come back. This is a big deal.
Lock that one up for the back of the head. And we shall. The gang fights the remaining Venom when one of them yells out, one of the Venom yells out, not the silver one. We need her. Why? Violet assumes it's to control Xaden, which is exactly why I'm not assuming that. Also,
exactly.
We talked about this, but this again points to the dreams when we all assumed that, and the very end of Iron Flame, when we all assumed that they were talking to Xaden. I think they were still talking to Violet, so craziness. One of the Venom has Violet cornered. Shadows surround them, and dun-da-da-da, Xaden enters the chat. He kills both of the remaining Venom, and I am swooning. Swooning! I have a note to read, page 20. Here it is. Shadows explode around us and immediately devouring every speck of light in a sea of endless black. I instantly recognize his home! And then the shadows brush her cheek gently. In the midst of this absolute violence, he is so tender, and that is why we love him. I cannot.
And was it on purpose or an accident that you just said violence, with that being her nickname? No, like Xaden calls Violet violence.
It's probably, I don't know. I can't tell you.
Coincidence. Just say it was a coincidence.
It was a coincidence.
I don't know. I just wasn't sure if that was like the verb, like you chose those words on purpose. That's all I was getting at. But I love it even more if it was a coincidence. That when I remember how like not too long ago I said Violet is clinging to hope, like desperately, like delusionally clinging to hope just because she can't scrap. Well, I am changing my mind. This quote gave me hope.
Yes.
Like how she talked about the Onyx being her home and the shadow just gently caressing her cheek. I was like,
oh man.
I swear I felt a shadow touch my cheek when I was reading it.
I know.
That's how delusional I am reading this.
If you've ever been a listener of this podcast or have listened for any amount of time, you know that I typically am not a romance reader. And yet this melted my cold heart. Oh, I loved it.
Tiny cold heart. Okay, Grinch.
Violet looks up at Xaden and is met with gold-flecked onyx eyes. I am so confused.
See, I'm not, because we've already talked about how the red goes away and then can come back. So
no, we've talked about it now, but as I was writing this, I was so confused. But now I'm a little bit more clear. After the debrief, it is clear that the Venom only wanted to free Jack, not necessarily take down the Ward Stone. Weird. Suspicious. Violet and Xaden get some time alone together, and she acknowledges that he wielded behind the wards today. Rebecca, you better make these inconsistencies to me make sense is all I'm saying. I don't doubt you, but it's very confusing for me at this time, no questions. He says he channeled from Sigale, who is still not speaking to him. Xaden reveals...
It wasn't confusing to me because it makes sense. Like, he's still, like... Not that, I mean, I get why Sigale isn't talking to him, but like it makes sense that he's still able to channel from her because they're still bonded. Like, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was more the wielding behind the wards because, I don't know, I guess that's not an inconsistency.
Yeah, I was just about to say, I'm like, I don't think it's an inconsistency. I think that's just one of those things that we kind of have to, I know we talked about how it never works, but like, take that understanding, lock it in a little box, and wait for Rebecca to give us the answer because it's one of those things where this is chapter 2. We have plenty more to go.
No, I need the answers now.
All make sense in a little bit, but.
So Xaden reveals that he senses the Venom, which is why he was able to kill 17 out of the 32 of them. Chapter 3. Header again. I'll just read the highlight bits. This comes from Lila Sorengale, Violet's mother, and they are talking about worrying about Violet and her heart. Oh, she says, and if her first 2 liaisons are any indication of what we might expect, God's help her, my love. I'm afraid our daughter has some atrocious taste in men.
I loved this. We talked about this in our last episode of like everything you need to know before reading Onyx Storm. Will die on the hill that Halden is one of those two liaisons.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. I have no idea who I think the second one is though. The fact that they called out two, because I was gonna say unless it's Xaden, but the mom wouldn't have written a letter to her dad because he was already dead.
Yeah, so I think we've got our nail in the coffin for one of them. But who do you guys think the second one is? Drop it in the comments.
Do you have a thought, Ellie, on who you think the second one is?
No.
It's okay to say no if you don't. Okay, cool. I just was wondering. Yeah, definitely. Like Ellie said, let us know in the comments if you think you know who the second one is. Before we get into further the book, I'm sure there's a possibility that it is revealed. Ellie and I have not finished the book yet. We've gone past chapter 6, but we have not finished the book yet. So I'm sure there's a possibility it gets revealed and we just don't know. But
yeah.
Any hoozle.
Okay. Violet gets ready to meet the Cenarium. She is going to debate leaving to find Andarna's family with a small team. Xaden is prepared to go with her, even though it means going beyond the wards that are protecting him from himself. The Cenarium is made up of 6 nobles representing each of Navarre's 6 provinces. They pitch a fit once they realize Andarna has commands. And to me, how long does it take for these people to realize they are but peas to the dragons?
I know. What ego do they all?
Honestly.
And it's not even all of them. I mean, it's most of them, but it's not even all of them. Really, Melgren has the largest stick up his you-know-what. And I just don't, he is bonded to a dragon. He should know better than anyone. You should
understand the hierarchy. Yeah. You don't
even
get
just
a
the hierarchy, but the understanding that Coda doesn't listen. I guarantee you, Coda doesn't listen to him every single time. Or Coda does things that he gets irritated with. You're telling me you think that they're going to ask Coda to go do something and he's just going to be like, yes, sir, whatever you say. Absolutely not. He might also want it, but he's going to have his own demands and wishes and boundaries and everything. It drives me nuts that they think that they can make people and dragons do what they want.
You and me both, kid. And Violet so gently reminds them. However, they do get a one-up in choosing Professor Grady as the captain of this endeavor, and he will be choosing the rest of the team, which is just the biggest eye roll of my entire life. How do you pronounce this? Llewellyn?
Llewellyn?
Llewellyn, the noble representing Tyrrendor, gives Violet a secret parchment from Tikaris that says, "You have 3 days to hold up your end of our bargain." I would be stressed. Violet wakes up and prepares to leave her room, but her hair is still wet, and this really caught my eye, not for theories reasons, but because this is horrible. The hair is still wet from the bath she took the night before, and then she braids it while it's wet, and then she wakes up and it's still a little damp, and then she takes it out of the braid and she brushes it out. You're asking for frizz, you're asking for split ends, just the amount of unkempt hair from that is crazy. That's the plot hole.
That right there is honestly, thus far, the scariest thing that's happened.
Yeah. Horrendous. Violet, though, she's about to sneak out. Xaden, little shadows, pull her back in. They get caught up in a moment of passion and somewhat do a deed. But afterwards, Xaden looks absolutely tortured, which is not the move I think I would want to see after.
I think that would hurt my feelings as it does violence.
I would not recover.
I think, I'd be like, oh, yeah, okay, cool.
No, me too, yeah. But we find out, the cool killed me. We find out in the heat of the moment that Xaden channeled. No.
I know.
Mr. Control. Yeah.
I will say, I mean, if there's ever a time to not lose control, it makes sense why it happened then. But, and this is, again, maybe me just being a girl and not fully understanding, or elements of just that we haven't fully, understood. I was confused by the fact that because from my understanding, he channeled from the headboard, correct?
Yeah.
So I thought it had to be, the ground. I didn't realize it could just be, anything. And I don't know, maybe the loophole is because the bed is on the ground. I don't know.
This is a real Lord of the Rings Frodo carrying a rabbit that was wearing the ring type of situation, you know, because they say like, well, Samwise didn't get affected when Frodo had it around his neck and Samwise was carrying Frodo up the mountain. And so like, couldn't someone have put the ring on like a squirrel and then they just carried the squirrel? This is this in a different font. Yeah.
In a different font. Yeah. So, but again, I'm going to trust Rebecca, trust the process. We're going to tuck this away in a separate little compartment and keep reading and just wait for her to give us all the answers.
I don't know if this one's going to get answered, but I, being the delusional person I am, if this was me and I was like, no, it's fine, I would honestly be like, I'm sure like the friction or like, I don't know, your sweaty hands caused the stain to wear off rather than that you channeled, but... That's just me being crazy.
I mean, the like color gets when you channel something, it's like they were like slightly gray, and it was like his thumbprints. So
yeah,
I mean,
but like
it's kind of hard to. No, I'm saying
the
what
stain's
I'm saying is
just a little melty. You must have calloused hands. It's sanded it a bit.
Yeah, it's a little hard to explain that one away. Is what I was trying to get at.
Not for me.
Not
Chapter
for
4. The two are reeling over what happened, but like. To me, again, it barely happened. However, I'm kind of picking up that this means no more sex until there's a cure, which I think, I don't know. Okay. I do like, though, that Violet addressed all of our Edward Cullen leaving concerns with the one quick sentence, are you going to go all broody and try to pull away from me? Because, fair warning, I'm not going to let that happen. Thank you, Violet. It's giving mature. It's giving demure.
Giving to the one sentence that Bella should have said, but could never have.
Because I'm a spice skipper, I had to use my detective reading skills to figure out that during their intimate time together, Xaden shared a hot memory with Violet. She asks if it's an intrinsic thing or a bond thing, which is the throne room, the same thing. They had like a memory situation. I don't know. And he says yes.
I was so confused by this, honestly, because the way I read the book, I don't know if it's the way it was written, the way I read it was that she actually shared something with him, not the other way around. And so she was asking, like, is it an intrinsic thing? Because we're bonded and you're an intrinsic, is that like why I was able to share a vision with you or share whatever? And so I highlighted on my Kindle the frickety frack out of this sentence.
Me too.
If that is not foreshadow, then I'm going to be pissed.
Okay, wait. So I put in there, you know, she asked that, are we convinced that this is Xaden's doing, or is he's sharing the information, or is this a Violet thing and she's pulling the information? But then like the next sentence literally says, oh, it's a Xaden thing. Because he says, yeah, when we were in that, I don't know, meeting room or whatever, I shared that memory too. I don't remember that though. Maybe I'm just a bad reader. But I guess he's done it before and he's intentionally done it and intentionally did this. Are we convinced? I don't know. This was weird to me.
Yeah, that's where I'm like, I just was so confused by this scene, even though I highlighted almost all of it, because I'm like, this just feels too important to not understand. And here I am not understanding it. But I was... my takeaway from this was that she was the one sharing it regardless of whatever it was written, was that she was the one sharing with him, and she was asking like, is it because of the bond or is it so I don't know. And I'm absolutely open to the fact of being wrong here. That was just my understanding, which is why I highlighted it.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out maybe later. Maybe this was the reveal. Who's to say? Not me.
No way. If this was reveal, I'm rioting. I am rioting. Also, we know that Rebecca said that she started manifesting her signet in Iron Flame already. So this wouldn't have been.
But there's just
if this
so
was
many
the reveal
crazy
of that.
things.
Ugh.
Honestly, the two talk politics, my fave, but are interrupted by an entire crowd waiting for them in the hallway, including Mira. She comes with news and gifts. She gives Violet a conduit and a disc with runes. Melissa, help me.
Okay,
what was this whole thing? I know it led to the flyers being able to stay, but like I was like, this is a frisbee with a plant on it. That's how it was described.
I truly have no idea. Like, I had a really hard time trying to visualize whatever the thing was, but I understood the like benefit of it. So pretty much what happened is because an Iron Flame, all they were trying to do is learn how to create runes. They were learning how to use them. So what they're trying to do now is learn how to what is the word? Disable, I guess, just one element of a rune or something without it going completely dead. Like they don't want it, because what this proves is that they are able to do that. They can remove just one element of a really complicated rune that has a lot of different spells. Or spells is not the way to explain it, but I hope everyone understands what I'm trying to say. It has a lot of magic and power and whatever written into it, and they're able to stop just one line of that. And so that proves that they can go to the Wardstone and disable the one line that prevents flyers from being able to channel within the wards. So that would allow them to stay, because in doing so, it would give them their power back, which would give them a little bit of a leg up, since all of the flyer riders who stayed in Navarre are pretty much willing to shed blood. They're willing to kill the people next to them, let alone the assumed enemy. Like, right. Their lives are at stake, and without any power to defend themselves. So this proves that they could give them back their power, which would allow them to have more comfort in staying.
Crazy times.
Yeah.
So in comes Brennan, and he and Mira start fighting over Violet's safety after Mira learns that Violet is about to embark on this dangerous quest to find the seventh breed. Their mom gets brought into it, and it is messy. And once again, Violet's just like, for later, I'll mourn later. Ugh. Chapter 5. There is a ruckus in the courtyard where Violet and her friends, plus Dane, find riders trying to challenge flyers. Kat is ready to defend her people and fight, and Violet de-escalates the situation. And also, I love their budding inevitable friendship. It's not friendship quite yet, but it is so freaking close, and I am here for it. I see it coming.
I love that it's realistic, like, and that it isn't a full friendship yet. Like, exactly what you said. Like, we can see it coming, but it's not right now, because I think it would be, if they were already BFFs, like, would I care? I would accept it, absolutely. But it's just not realistic.
It's not
like,
believable.
It's not. And what their amicable coexistence right now is very believable.
Right.
And I love that. And I also love the development of relationships. So like you said, like, I'm excited to see how they get closer and what any changes might do to, like, throughout the plot might do to their friendship, and how that is gonna I don't know. I don't think she'll never replace Ree, but I do think that Kat could turn into her, like, second.
Oh, love that. So I love the enemies to friends. Love it. Violet says that if a flyer falls, there will never be an understanding between Peromiel and Navarre. So true. Mm-hmm. Things turn from flyers v riders to riders who stayed v riders who left, Dane being the center of attention. Fourth Wing preps to defend him, but he talks his way out of it, or he tries to, and he tries to reason, and it's just crystal clear that there is not a leader amongst the entire school anymore. Everybody's upset. Yeah. There's no one that can just unite them. It's just a hot mess.
And on top of that, there's no actual leadership. There's no professor or anyone who's going to be there to tell them to stop, too. So
true.
It's mayhem with no boundaries and no one in charge to control it.
Mayhem, nice word. It's clear the fight is not going to end without some blood, and as Dane prepares to take on Aura, a fire wielder, I love this scene too, because Violet's like, a fire wielder versus a memory puller. Not in a real world. Darna tells Violet that Dane is not the strongest. She says it not once, but twice. And remember when we just talked about that header of, like, who are the six? I was like, all right, scratch Dane off. He's not going to be up there.
Well, Dane was never on my list because I'm only trying to think of the marked ones in general, but extra true.
Extra true now.
He would be a much bigger contender for that spot if he didn't have to touch someone. If he could just, like, mentally read their memories and everything, he'd be from an intensic distance.
Yeah.
Well,
and then they would have killed him.
He's just a weak one.
Damn. But okay. Violet realizes that it has to be her to fight because Aura is going to wield in this challenge. It's not just hands, ladies and gents. It's signets. It's like chapter 6.
And because they said, like, the strongest among you, and everyone just, like, let it be Dane. But then, I mean, Eric and Darna, obviously, and even Taryn were like, hey, excuse me.
Is this thing on?
Violet.
He's not the strongest.
You are the strongest, my dear.
Get on up there. So chapter 6, have we ever noticed, I don't know if you've watched this, so I don't know if it'll land with you, but maybe our audience, that Ridic's banter gives Sokka from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I have to know if Rebecca was inspired, because everything he says, I'm like, this is Sokka. This is exactly his humor. I have to know.
I just want to, I've seen enough episodes. This is the main girl, her brother, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I know exactly what you're talking about, and yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
like the one-liners.
Absolutely.
I've seen enough of the show to understand the humor aspect of it.
You know, and this is dumb, but it's just me. It's just me. Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, I liked Ridoc enough, but I don't think I would have cried if he died. He didn't land with me. He didn't sit in my heart. He was just a character. This book already, we're chapter 6. I love him. His comical breaks, his little quips, he has me wrapped around his finger. I'm sorry to say. I'm such a huge fan.
He's always been there.
Yeah.
He's been, to me, the way his character, it's been like, he was there, but in the background for the first 2 books. He, every once in a while, would have a good one-liner, the comedic relief, absolutely the entire time. And he's very loyal and will do anything for his squad. We love Ridoc.
Yes.
But he's
consistent.
Not like, he's not the first person we think of when we think of this series. We think Violet, we think Xaden.
Right.
I just feel like already in the, like you said, the first 6 chapters of this book, Ridoc has gone from being a background character to forefront. Like, he's so much more present already in the story than to me that he's been in the rest of the other books.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't go so far as to say he has me wrapped around his finger, but I do. Like, I love his character. I do think at this point I would be super upset if he,
you know what,
got the
I also wonder if Rebecca, because I know she's on Instagram and I know that she does look at like the fan theories and things like that and the feedback. I wonder if she really did listen to the audience of her books, because I know in Iron Flame, one of the biggest critiques I saw was that there wasn't a lot of character development for the side characters like Ridoc, like Sawyer, all of them. But now they're so present and Rebecca's writing with his humor. I don't typically like comical characters. I'm just a stick in the mud, I think, with books, but I don't.
Comical characters.
But him, I'm laughing out loud at this book. I think he's so funny. The timing is well placed. There's a situation that's so dire and he just throws a one line in and I'm cracking up. So well done. I think she listened to the readers and I think she really did it right. So
I also wonder if that is just like happy coincidence timing wise too, because and I will caveat this to say I heard this from a friend who read this somewhere. Or, like, I don't know how credible this information is, but word on the street is that Rebecca had this series like super planned out before she even for all 5 books before she even started writing the first one, but like more so than the general outline. Like, she knew when she wanted plot twists to happen. She knew what the plot twists were going to be. She knew all of the big stuff that was going to happen for every single book. So now, like, writing it's more just writing the dialogue to get to those places.
Yeah.
And which to me sounds like what an author would do, but I also think like it just kind of depends on how much you were planning for. Like, I know like with Sarah, like she was only originally planning on 3 books for Akatar, and I'm sure she probably did something similar for those 3, but then as she's writing, realizing that she's not done with these characters, so the last books were kind of more like, not, I don't want to say on the fly, but it just wasn't in the original plan.
It wasn't cohesive to exactly the storyline. Like, they're new storylines and that's great, but it wasn't like, it's obvious that we stopped and we started again.
It's very clear to me that they were afterthoughts and that they weren't like part of the original design, but that's okay. Like, they're so great and we love them.
But this one's very cohesive.
All that to say is I almost wonder if she had planned on bringing the characters in more to the story in this book beforehand, or like you said, if that was one thing that she really is taking in the feedback, listening to like what her readers are saying and wanting, and figuring out how to add that into what she's already planned.
Regardless, Rebecca, the outcome is chef's kiss. You have, I'm just going to say it. I was going to wait till the end to say this. I'm only 12 chapters in prep for these episodes, but I truly don't think I've read a better book for at least a year. This has been one of the most, and I wasn't expecting it because, I don't know, I didn't have my hopes super high, but every single chapter is pushing the plot forward. It's not filler. It's not like, oh, okay, so we're going to read a couple just like haha chapters and then something happens. Or, you know, you kind of get that lull until the last 100 pages. Every single one is keeping me on the edge of my seat. And I love feeling like that. This is so well written. I'm only on chapter 12, but right now this is my favorite of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame so far. So
yeah,
a bold claim to just start, but it's true.
It really, granted, it's not like book 1 where she has to do all this world building and everything, but still, chapter 1, a battle, like we get fighting, we get action, like this book came out swinging. That's for sure. I totally agree. From like the get go, it captured my attention.
Yeah, love it. Okay, guys, so we're on chapter 6 now, and this is the last of our recap for this week. So Violet preps to fight, but then also goes into a last-ditch effort speech trying to convince everyone to band together rather than turn on each other. Very noble. Professor De Vera joins in, and the cadets start to lower their weapons. The comment is also made, the last time a Shadow and Lightning wielder fought side by side, they managed to drive the Venom back into the Barrens for a few hundred years. AKA...
Oh, my word.
I know. Xaden and Violet are the first of their signets to live simultaneously since the Great War. Foreshadow to something great or something terrible. Highlight.
Yeah. This really is just extra proof to that the excerpt that you read about the
six.
The six walking and how the person would never want to be alive to see it again. Like that. Okay, we're already getting little pieces of the fact that this is already kind of starting to happen again. Like the two people with their signet have never been alive at the same time, let alone like a bonded pair, since the Great War that started all the crap that's happening that they're cleaning up now. Like you're telling me that's not a foreshadow or a coincidence? Like coincidence? I think not.
So this dispels the fighting. Despite the treaty talk, though, classes are going to start back up the next morning, which props to them. We're moving forward. We're keeping life going.
I liked it. I liked that they're like, okay, you know, you guys are still kids. Like we're at school. Professors are back now. Playtime's over. Get to class. Like I don't know. Something about that. I was like, yay, let's go back to class.
It was very Hogwarts-esque for me. I loved it. Dane and Violet's relationship is still on the mend. She has a thought that if he would have had faith in her the way that he does now from the beginning, things could have been so different. But not that different because she is still obsessed with Xaden, as we all are. And I was thrown back to this interview I saw of Rebecca this past week where she was justifying Dane, and she was like, he's 21 years old in the beginning of this. He loves his father. Sue him. He trusts his leadership. He kept things from Violet. Xaden did the same thing. She was like,
lock him up, throw away the key.
Yeah. She was like, a little blinded, are we? And I was laughing. She gets me. So speak of the devil and he shall appear. Xaden is in the courtyard watching with what we presume is jealousy, with Violet and Dane speaking. He and Brennan, Xaden and Brennan, call over Violet and Eric, and it's clear that they're in a bad mood. Eric guesses that his brother Halden complicated negotiations, and the direct response from Violet is, and I quote, I effing blanch. Why are you blanching, Violet?
Okay, finish this paragraph, and I have things to say.
Okay. My bingo card is near complete if this ends up being her ex-liaison. The way Mira studies her and Xaden afterwards, but then keeps quiet, no doubt in my mind.
This is what I was talking about. The proof. I will not for 1 second hear any nonsense about Halden not being one of said liaisons. The way Eric... Okay, also, again, back in that episode, the All You Need to Know Before Onyx Storm, I added to this a little bit too. Like, I think that not only did she date Halden in the past, but I actually think Eric has a fat crush on her and has for a long time. I mean, you can tell, like, he is significantly more open to helping her and is just more aware of Violet than anyone else. Not that he isn't nice to everyone, but I don't know. There's just something about the way I do feel like he treats her a little differently. But... Okay, and then this is proof for that too. The way he got so annoyed knowing that his stupid dummy brother was there, and also how he muddled everything up once again because he feels like that's all his brother does, and because he's extra just annoyed at him all the time because he got the girl and she didn't, and then also knowing that Violet is right here and Violet is inevitably gonna run into him.
Yeah.
The way Violet reacted, the effing blanched. Like,
and I didn't even put it in here.
React that way.
But and Darna and Taryn, and Darna was like, "Why are you worried about him?" And Taryn was like, "Really, him?" or something like that. So it's like so obvious at this. It is so obvious. Yes. It's done. It's Taryn, a sealed deal.
Daddy Taryn, oh wise one, knows everything. Like. And then also, the nail in the coffin for me, though, really, truly was what you just said about how Mira glanced between the two of them to see Xaden's reaction, but then didn't say anything. I was like, because obviously her sister's going to know. Oh, I'm so excited. I need to know more. I'm so excited for jealousy and yearning and drama. This is going to be good.
And again, only chapter 6, guys. It just keeps getting better. So, last paragraph, Violet's mission is a go, and Halden is going to come with?
Of course he is. I will say the first question that I had, though, and I know that this will get answered at some point. I haven't gotten to the part of the book in real life where it has, but how the heck is Halden going? He's in the infantry. He's not a rider, and everyone else going is a rider. And dragons don't let randos ride on their back. Like,
unless he's going to have to ride with Violet because...
Violet! And Taryn's going to put up a hissy fit.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I just don't know. Like, I'm curious.
We'll lock it up and we'll find out soon. All of Andarna's other demands are granted, but the flyers staying safe and on their squads did not make it to Promeal's table. The Cenarium voted 6-1 that the safety of Navarre's borders is first and cannot be tampered with. There is no alliance. This was just... I cannot... However,
I know
Xaden, the little venom that he is named the Duke of Tyrrendor, even though his current situation is not sublime. Xaden makes Violet promise that she will raise the flag and let people know what's going on if he loses himself too much, and she agrees only because she thinks he will not get to that point, which is, I think we're going to get to that point, if not darn well, very close to it. She is now more determined than ever to find a cure, as an entire province depends on him. And that is where we end up today.
I'm sorry. I just remembered a comment that was made in that conversation about Halden. They were, I want to say it even happened before they brought up Halden, but when all of them were talking and they were like saying, "Oh, Violet, like, wow, what a great speech. You should go into politics or something." And then Eric even was like, "Yeah, like, what great job." Or I don't know, someone else was like, "Politics, like, that's not enough. That's great." Yeah. And then Xaden, Xaden already knew that he got appointed Duke, but this was before we were led into that. Xaden made a comment. He goes, "Or like a Duchess." Did you pick up on that?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I you know, it's so funny because I highlighted that because I was like, what a random, like a really random specific nobility to call out. And I was like, I also remember his dad was the Duke of Tyrrendor. They're in all of these conversations, like, while that him being reinstated as Duke wasn't necessarily something that was on the table, I was like, this is gonna come up again somehow. He is heir to the throne of Eurasia or next in line, whatever. I don't remember what, but I'm like, I don't know. This is just like too specific and too coincidental to what his dad's title was for it to not come back up. I didn't expect for it to come back up like 3 pages after that, but I was like, then as soon as we got that, I was like, that's why he said Duchess. He wants to get married. Anyways, this sent me. Okay, and that's where we're ending for today, you guys. I am so excited for the next 6 chapters, though. I mean, I'm excited for the rest of the whole friggin' book, but juicy stuff happens in the next 6 chapters, and I'm excited.
Good. I'm devouring it. But I'm going to stay faithful. I am not going to read beyond the episodes that we are recording so that I cannot possibly give any spoilers out. And that is my solemn swear. I know.
I swear to you, I will not be doing that. I will be finishing it before we record our next episode. I just have had a really busy week.
I like being as excited as I possibly can be because I know nothing else except for what I'm reading. It's so fun.
Good for you. I can't. I couldn't. The patience is not there for me. But we hope you guys enjoy this. We'd love to have you back listen to chapters 7 through 12 next week on Onyx Storm. And have a great rest of your week.
Yeah. Bye, guys.